And now, please welcome Mr. Lewis Lapham.
Present company accepted, I regard the greatest and finest American satirist as Mark Twain. And Twain said once that, well, humor is the great thing, the saving thing, after all. And I believe that, and that is why I'm proud to be with the people on the platform tonight. The satirist attempts the crime of arson, meaning to set a torch of words, what Twain called painted fire, to the hospitality tents of pompous and self-righteous cant. The intention presupposes readers well enough aware of their own hypocrisies to see the stone of truth hidden behind the back of the easy and not so genial smile. The country has never produced such readers in commercial quantity. As forms of literary address, we nearly always have preferred the sermon and the sales pitch, and we seldom have had much use or liking for the voices of dissent. Tom Paine made the mistake of extending his defense of human liberty into a philippic against the despotism of the Christian church, an impiety for which he was reviled as a heretic, scorned as a drunkard, and denied church burial in the country that he had done so much to set free from England. American society turned out to be profoundly conformist, suspicious of any idea that couldn't be yoked to the wheel of progress, deeply reverent in the presence of wealth. Wit was predictably disastrous, and the ambitious clerk or college man soon learned that in the troubled sea of worldly affairs, one sinks by levity and rises by gravity. Success entailed the keeping up of sober appearances and never venturing an opinion likely to affront the Mr. Pecksniff who owned the feed store or the microphone. By the end of the 19th century, satire had been largely confined to its gentler expressions, the kind that didn't need to be kept out of the hands of children. And Twain was obliged to reserve his more acerbic observations for posthumous publication, in the meantime playing the part of the harmless clown. Edith Wharton left for Europe. Finley Peter Dunne put on the mask of Mr. Dooley, and Ambrose Bierce walked off the set into the deserts of northern Mexico. Briefly revived during the intermission between World Wars I and II, the satirical spirit showed to brilliant effect not only among the Algonquin wits, but also in the writings of Don Marquis, James Thurber, Albert J. Nock, Dawn Powell, and Sinclair Lewis. But the moment didn't last. Following upon its victories in the Second World War, the United States found itself transformed into an imperial power, and the delusions of grandeur had their usual ill effect. The fear of nuclear annihilation inhibited any sudden or subversive movement of the literary imagination, and the glorious return to economic prosperity restored the statues of Mammon to their golden pedestals in the country's better department stores. The country's governing and possessing classes, admiring their new patents of omnipotence in the mirror of an increasingly subservient and jingoistic press, acquired the habit of taking themselves very, very seriously indeed. They didn't look with favor upon the kind of jokes that cast doubt on the guarantees of immortality and the promise of redemption. And within the remarkably short space of the same 6 or 7 years that brought forth the McCarthy hearings, the decay of the American satirical spirit begins to show up in the pages of the national magazines. The change of tone is clearly marked as the edges of the Gulf Stream when seen from a height of 20,000 feet. Prior to 1955, the writing exhibits the characteristics of people willing to laugh at their own vanity and intolerance. After 1955, the writing turns heavy and solemn, the authors laboring under the weight of sententious political theory and gazing into the wells of Narcissus. If before 1960 it was possible to define literature, politics, journalism, the movies as separate provinces of expression, over the last 40-odd years they have been fused into the alloy of the entertainment media and made subjects of an empire ruled by television. The television audience prefers situation comedy to satire. Situation comedy, and maybe the kind of sarcasm, pointed but not so pointed as to lose the market, that lends itself to gridiron dinners, Academy Awards ceremonies, and Saturday Night Live. And because the television audiences wish to include itself in the good life seen on the screen, traveling to Europe, choosing between the Mercedes and the Lexus, conversing with Henry Kissinger or Paris Hilton, the class bias of American humor, which once favored the least fortunate members of society at the expense of their self-important overlords, reversed direction. And much of what now passes for merry witticism on Seinfeld, The Late Show with David Letterman, as well as in the writings of Tom Wolfe and P.J. O'Rourke, plays on the anxieties endured by the most fortunate members of the society when confronted with apparitions from the lower depths. Scary street persons, hostile waitresses, ugly dogs. When Twain said that satire preserved men from being shriveled into sheep, it didn't occur to him that lamb's wool would come to be so much admired.